Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the human exploration ship Endeavour, watching the stars drift past through the main viewing screen. It had been 3 weeks since they left Earth's outer colonies, and the mission was going exactly as planned. Too quiet, maybe? Jake liked quiet missions, but his crew was getting restless. "Anything interesting out there, Amy?" Jake asked the communications officer, a young woman with short black hair who had joined the crew just 6 months ago. Amy. Park shook her head without looking up from her console. Nothing but background radiation and some old signals from trading posts. Same as yesterday. Endeavour was one of Earth's newest exploration vessels, designed to map the Outer Rim territories and make contact with new species. Jake had been commanding ships like this for 8 years, and most missions ended with detailed star charts and maybe a few mineral samples. It's nothing exciting, but that was fine by him. "Captain," called Tony Rodriguez from the engineering station. The stocky man with graying hair had served on 5 different ships before joining the Endeavour. "I'm reading some strange energy patterns from the Kepler 442 system. Might be worth checking out." Jake nodded. Lisa set course for Kepler 442. Let's see what Tony found. Lisa Grant, the ship's pilot, was already working at her controls. She was one of the best pilots in the fleet, with quick reflexes and an ability to fly through asteroid fields like they were empty space. "Course laid in, Captain. 15 minutes at current speed." The bridge fell into comfortable routine as the ship changed direction. Jake had picked his crew carefully. They worked well together, trusted each other, and nobody panicked under pressure. That last part had saved their lives more than once during their missions in unexplored space. As they approached the Kepler 442 system, Amy suddenly straightened at her station. "Captain, I'm picking up something. It's faint, but it looks like a distress signal. From who?" Jake moved to stand behind her chair. "Unknown. The signal pattern doesn't match any human or known alien transmissions in our database." Amy's fingers moved quickly over her controls. "It's repeating every 30 seconds. Same message over and over. Can you translate it? Working on it now." "The computer is trying to find patterns." Amy frowned at her screen. "This is strange, Captain. The signal is very weak, like it's coming from very far away, but it's also very precise. Whoever sent this knows exactly how to make it travel through space without losing strength." Tony looked up from his engineering station. "That takes some serious technology, more advanced than ours." Jake felt a familiar tightness in his stomach. In his experience, finding advanced alien technology usually meant trouble. "Keep working." On the translation, "Amy, Lisa, take us deeper into the system, but stay alert. Tony, I want all sensors running full scans." "Yes, sir." All 3 responded at once. For the next hour, Amy worked on decoding the signal while the Endeavour moved carefully through the outer planets of the system. Jake watched the sensor readings, looking for any signs of ships or stations. So far, everything looked empty. "Got it?" Amy announced suddenly. "Captain, you need to hear this." "Ah!" "Put it on speakers." A strange musical voice filled the bridge. The words were in English now, translated by the ship's computer, but the original alien tone came through clearly. The voice sounded desperate and afraid. "This is Dr. Zefka of the Kaleri Research Station on Keller Prime. Our world is under attack by the Vorthan Empire. They have destroyed our defense fleet and are bombing our cities. Millions of our people are dead or captured. We are sending this message to any spacefaring species who might receive it. Please, if you can hear this, we need help. We have perhaps 3 or 4 days before our civilization is completely destroyed. We do not ask you to fight for us, but if you could evacuate even a few thousand of our people, our species might survive. Please respond if you receive this message. We are running out of time." The bridge was silent for a long moment after the message ended. "How far away is this coming from?" Jake asked. Amy checked her instruments. "About 2 light years, Captain."
Oh.
"The signal is old. If they sent it 4 days ago, and they said they had 3 or 4 days left, they might already be dead," Lisa finished quietly. Jake stared at the main screen, thinking hard. The Endeavour was an exploration ship, not a warship. They had basic defensive weapons and shields, but nothing designed for real combat. If this Vorthon Empire was powerful enough to destroy an entire alien civilization, what could one human ship do? On the other hand, these Kalari people were asking for help. They were dying, and the Endeavor might be the only ship close enough to do anything about it. Tony, what's our weapons and shield status? All systems working perfectly, Captain. Do you know what we're carrying? Pulse cannons designed to clear debris, shields meant to protect against asteroids and radiation. We're not built for war. I know. Jake looked at each of his crew members. I want everyone to understand what we might be getting into. This could be a trap, or we could be flying into a battle we can't win. Anyone who wants to object to responding to this distress call should speak up now. Lisa was the first to respond. Captain, these people are asking for help. Even if we can't fight this empire, maybe we can save some of them. Tony nodded. I agree. We became explorers to meet new species and help them. This is what we signed up for. Amy turned in her chair to face Jake. Sir, I've been listening to that message over and over. Dr. Zefka sounds genuinely terrified. I don't think this is a trap. Jake made his decision. Lisa plot a course for the Kalari system. Maximum speed. Course plotted, Captain. At maximum drive, we can be there in 18 hours. Take us there, Amy. Send a response to that signal. Tell them help is coming. As the Endeavor jumped to faster-than-light speed, Jake hoped they weren't flying toward their own destruction. But he also knew that if they ignored this call for help, he would never be able to live with himself. In 18 hours, they would find out what kind of enemy they were facing and whether one human ship could make any difference in a war between alien civilizations. The Endeavor dropped out of faster-than-light speed at the edge of the Kalari system. What Jake Morrison saw on the main screen made his blood run cold. Massive alien warships surrounded the blue-green planet of Keller Prime, their dark holes, blocking out sections of space. Bright flashes of weapon fire lit up the planet's surface as the ships continued their bombardment. My God, Lisa whispered from the pilot's seat. How many ships are there? Sensors show 43 large vessels, Tony reported, his voice tight with worry. Each one is at least twice the size of our ship. I'm also reading smaller fighters. Moving between them, Amy's hands flew over her communications board. Captain, I'm picking up multiple signals from the planet. Some are distress calls. Others sound like military communications in an unknown language. The Vorthans, I think. Jake studied the tactical display. The alien fleet was arranged in a perfect formation around the planet, like they owned the entire system. Their ships were sleek and black, covered in weapon ports and shield generators. Compared to them, the Endeavor looked like a small fishing boat facing a fleet of battleships. Lisa, take us behind that moon, Jake ordered. Keep us hidden. While we figure out what to do, as the Endeavor moved to a safe position, Jake tried to process what they were seeing. This was no simple raid or border dispute. The Vorthans were systematically destroying an entire civilization. The scale of destruction was beyond anything he had imagined. Captain Amy called out, I'm receiving a transmission from the planet. It's Dr. Zefka. The same voice from the distress signal. Put him through. The main screen flickered, and an alien face appeared. Dr. Zefka looked like a tall, thin humanoid with pale blue skin and large dark eyes. His features showed exhaustion and fear, but also desperate hope when he saw the human crew. You came, he said, his voice breaking with emotion. I did not think anyone would answer our call. We're here, Dr. Zefka, Jake replied. I have. To be honest with you, we're just one ship. I don't know how much help we can provide against that fleet. The Kalari scientist nodded sadly. I understand. Your ship is small compared to the Vorthan dreadnoughts. But perhaps you could help evacuate some of our people. We have research stations and underground shelters that the Vorthons have not yet discovered. How many people are we talking about? Perhaps 5,000 scientists and their families. They're our best minds, the ones who might rebuild our civilization somewhere else if they can escape. Jake looked at his crew. The Endeavor could carry maybe 200 passengers if they packed them into cargo holds. 5,000 was impossible. We can take some, Jake said carefully. But Dr. Zefka, we need to contact our government. This is bigger than one ship can handle. The alien's eyes widened. Your government? You mean there are more of your people? Many more? We come from a planet called Earth, and we have a space fleet. It's not as big as the Vorthan fleet, but we might be able to help. For the first time since the communication began, Dr. Zefka looked hopeful. How long would it take for your fleet to arrive? I don't know. We need to send the message first. Jake turned to Amy. Open a channel to Earth Command. Priority Alpha Emergency. While Amy worked to establish the long-range communication link, Jake continued talking with Dr. Zefka. The Kaleri scientist explained that his people had been at peace for over 1,000 years. They had advanced technology but almost no military experience. When the Vorthons arrived and demanded surrender, the Kaleri had tried to negotiate. The response was immediate attack. The Vorthons do not negotiate, Dr. Zefka said bitterly. They arrive, they demand surrender, and if you refuse, they destroy everything. They have conquered 47 worlds in the past 50 years using the same method. What do they want? Lisa asked. Resources, workers. They strip each planet of useful materials and take the population as slaves. Those who resist are killed. Jake felt his anger growing. The Vorthons were not just conquerors, they were slave traders on a galactic scale. Everything about them went against human ideas of right and wrong. Captain Amy interrupted. Have Admiral Patricia Wells on the line from Earth Command. The screen split, showing both Dr. Zefka and a stern-looking woman in a blue military uniform. Admiral Wells had short gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Jake had worked with her before and knew she was one of the smartest people in the Earth Defense Force. Captain Morrison, the Admiral said without any greeting, received your initial report. Is this situation as serious as it sounds? Admiral. The Vorthons have 43 capital ships bombarding a planet full of civilians. Dr. Zefka here says they've conquered 47 worlds already. Admiral Wells studied the image of the alien scientist. Dr. Zefka, I am Admiral Wells of the Earth Defense Force. Can you tell me about Vorthon military capabilities? Dr. Zefka looked confused by the direct military question. Their ships are very large and heavily armed. They have energy weapons that can destroy cities from orbit. Their shields are strong enough to resist our defensive systems. Why do you ask about military capabilities? Because, Doctor, we need to know what we're fighting. Fighting? Dr. Zefka's large eyes grew even wider. You would fight the Vorthon Empire? But they are too powerful. No one has ever successfully resisted them. Admiral Wells smiled, and it was not a friendly expression. Doctor, I don't think the Vorthons have ever met humans before. Captain Morrison, maintain your position and gather as much intelligence as possible. I'm authorizing deployment of the Third Fleet. Jake felt a surge of relief and excitement. The Third Fleet was Earth's most powerful military force. 12 warships, including heavy cruisers and the flagship Defiant. Admiral, how long until the fleet arrives? Admiral Robert Kane will depart within 6 hours. Travel time to your position is approximately 40 hours. Think you can stay hidden that long? Yes, ma'am.
How good, Morrison?
I want detailed scans of every Vorthon ship. Weapons, shields, propulsion systems, everything. When our fleet arrives, we need to know exactly what we're facing. Dr. Zefka looked back and forth between the two humans. Forgive me, but are you seriously planning to attack the Vorthon fleet? They have never been defeated. Admiral Wells looked directly at the alien scientist. Doctor, there are many things in this galaxy that have never happened before. We're about to add one more to that list. After the communication ended, Jake turned to his crew. You heard the Admiral. We have 40 hours to learn everything we can about Vorthon ships and military tactics. Amy, monitor all their communications. Tony, I want detailed sensor scans of their technology. Lisa, plot escape routes in case we're discovered. Dr. Zefka remained on the screen, still looking stunned. Captain Morrison, I do not understand. Why would your people risk war with an empire that has conquered nearly 50 worlds? Jake thought about the question. Because, Doctor, someone has to stop them. And maybe we're the ones who can do it. Admiral Robert Kane stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant as the third. Fleet dropped out of faster-than-light speed at the edge of the Kaleri system. He was a tall man with graying hair and scars on his hands from 20 years of military service. Behind him, 11 other human warships took their positions in formation. Tactical report, Kane ordered his weapons officer. Sir, sensors confirm Captain Morrison's intelligence. 43 Vorthone capital ships in orbital bombardment formation around Keller Prime. They're maintaining position, continuing to fire on the planet's surface. Kane studied the tactical display. The Vorthon ships were massive, dark vessels that looked like they were built for intimidation as much as warfare. Their formation was perfect and orderly, exactly what military textbooks would recommend for a siege operation. Communications. Open a channel to the Endeavor. Captain Morrison's face appeared on the main screen. Good to see ya. We've been monitoring Vorthon communications for the past 2 days. They know we're here. What's their response been? Nothing so far? They seem to think we're not worth their attention. Just one small exploration ship hiding behind a moon. Kane smiled grimly. They're about to learn different. What about their fleet disposition? Same formation for 40 hours, sir? They're not expecting any resistance. Dr. Zefka says this is exactly how they conquered the other worlds. Show up, demand surrender, start bombing when they're refused. On the Vorthon flagship, Fleet Commander Thokmor was reviewing reports. From his ship captains, when his communications officer approached, Moore was a large alien with dark red skin and 4 arms, each ending in clawed hands. His species had conquered 6 star systems before joining the Vorthon Empire. Commander, we're receiving multiple signals from the outer system. It appears to be a small fleet. Thakmore barely looked up from his reports. How many ships?
Oh.
Sir. Unknown configuration. They appear to be from the same species as that small vessel we detected 2 days ago. Have they demanded we withdraw? No, sir. They're just ... watching us. Thakmore finally looked at his officer. In his experience, most species either fled immediately when they saw the Vorthon fleet or sent desperate diplomatic messages, begging for mercy. These newcomers were doing neither. Send them the standard warning. Tell them to leave the system immediately or be destroyed. Back on the Defiant, the human crew received the Vorthon message. Admiral Kane listened to the translation with growing amusement. Unknown vessels, you are in violation of Vorthon Imperial space. Withdraw immediately, or face annihilation. You have 1 hour to comply. Kane turned to his communications officer. Send a reply. Tell them we're here to discuss the immediate withdrawal of all Vorthon forces from this system. Commander Linda Shaw, captain of the destroyer Wolverine, spoke up from the tactical station. Admiral, they're not going to negotiate. Every report we have says they never negotiate. I know, Linda, but I want to see how they react when someone doesn't run away. The human response reached the Vorthon flagship within minutes. Fleet Commander Thokmor read it twice, then called for his senior officers. These aliens are demanding that we withdraw, he announced to the assembled captains. They have 12 small ships, and they're making demands of the Vorthon Empire. The captains looked at each other in confusion. Some laughed, thinking it was a joke. Perhaps they don't understand our power, suggested Captain Vorthka of the Dreadnought destroyer. Should we demonstrate by destroying one of their ships? Thakmor considered this. No, they will learn soon enough. Begin attack formation, Alpha 7. We will destroy their entire fleet in one coordinated strike. The Vorthon ships began moving from their orbital positions, ranging themselves into a battle formation that had never failed in 50 years of conquest. The center, supported by cruisers and destroyers in perfect geometric patterns. Admiral Kane. Watch the enemy fleet reposition with professional interest. They're good at formation flying, he commented to his staff. It's very precise, very organized. Sir, called Captain Marcus Bell from the cruiser Tempest, they're moving into standard line of battle formation. Textbook stuff, I noticed. Apparently, no one has ever taught them about three-dimensional warfare in space. Kane opened a fleet-wide channel. All ships implement Plan Delta 4. Let's show them what happens when they meet real soldiers. The human fleet scattered in all directions, abandoning any recognizable formation. To the Vorthons, it looked like panic. The human ships darted between asteroids, used the system's moons for cover, and split into small groups that moved independently. Fleet. Commander Thakmor watched the human response with satisfaction. As expected, they scatter like frightened animals when faced with real military power. but his satisfaction quickly turned to confusion as the scattered human ships began attacking from multiple directions simultaneously. The destroyer Wolverine emerged from behind an asteroid and fired a spread of missiles at the Vorthan cruiser subjugator. The missiles struck the cruiser's shields, causing them to flicker and spark. "Impossible," breathed Captain Vorska. "How did they penetrate our shields?" The answer came from the human ship Tempest, which had been studying Vorthon shield frequencies. For 2 days, Captain Bell's crew had identified the exact frequency, rotation pattern, and timed their weapons to fire during the brief moments when the shields were weakest. More human ships appeared from unexpected directions. Lieutenant Commander Paul Garcia led a squadron of fighters in a coordinated attack on the Vorthon supply ship Harvester. The fighters moved in patterns that made no sense to Vorthon tactical doctrine, weaving between the larger ships and striking at weak points that the Vorthans had never bothered to protect. The supply ship Harvester exploded in a brilliant flash of light, sending debris spinning through space. Report. Thuckmore roared at his tactical officer. "Sir, the humans are using some kind of advanced tactical system. They are attacking from multiple vectors simultaneously, and their weapons are penetrating our shields at specific intervals. How is that possible?" "I don't know, sir. They appear to be exploiting weaknesses in our defensive systems that we didn't know existed." On the Defiant, Admiral Kane was coordinating the battle with calm efficiency. "Linda, take the Wolverine and hit their left flank. Marcus, I want the Tempest to support Paul's fighter squadron. All ships, remember, we're not trying to win a stand-up fight. We're trying to show them that attacking us costs more than they want to pay." The battle continued for 2 hours. The human fleet darted in and out of engagement range, striking at Vorthan ships and disappearing before the enemy could respond effectively. They used the system's asteroids, moons, and gas clouds as cover, always attacking from unexpected directions. By the end of the engagement, the humans had destroyed 4 Vorthan ships and damaged 8 others. The human fleet had taken some damage, but lost no ships. Fleet Commander Thakmore stared at his tactical display in disbelief. His fleet still outnumbered the humans 3-1, but for the first time in his military career, he had lost ships. In battle, these humans fought in ways that violated every principle of civilized warfare. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we're receiving another message from the human fleet. Put it through." Admiral Kane's face appeared on the screen, showing no emotion. "Commander, I believe we've made our point. You are no longer welcome in this system. Withdraw your forces immediately." Thuckmore felt rage building in his chest. "You dare make demands of the Vorthan Empire? With 40 ships remaining, you have 12. Kane smiled coldly. "Commander, you had 43 ships 2 hours ago. You now have 39 operational vessels. We still have 12. I'd say the trend is in our favor." The communication ended, leaving Thakmore staring at a blank screen. In decades, someone had given the Vorthan Empire an ultimatum and backed it up with military action. The galaxy was about to change in ways that neither species could fully understand. Emperor Vashkal sat on his throne aboard the massive Imperial flagship Dominion, reading reports from the Kalari system with growing disbelief. The Emperor was ancient even by Vorthon standards, his dark red skin marked with scars from 100 battles. He had built the Vorthan Empire from a single world into a force that controlled 50 star systems. "You're telling me that Fleet Commander Thakmore lost 4 ships to 12 unknown vessels?" he asked his military advisor, War Prince. KETH-ZOR. "Yes, my Emperor. The enemy used tactics we have never encountered before. They attacked from multiple directions simultaneously and seemed to know exactly when our shields were weakest." Vashkal stood and walked to the massive viewing screen that showed the stars of his empire. "What do we know about these humans?" "Very little, my Emperor. They appear to be a new species, previously unknown to our intelligence services. They fight with a ferocity and cunning that suggests extensive military experience. Interesting." The Emperor turned back to his War Prince. "Kethzor, you will take the first Imperial fleet to this system. I want these humans destroyed completely. No survivors, no prisoners. Make an example of them that will be remembered across the galaxy. War Prince Quetzor bowed deeply. He was younger than most Vorthan commanders, but had earned his position through victories in 12 different campaigns. It will be done, my emperor. How many ships should I take? All of them. 200 vessels, including the super dreadnought. Annihilator. I want no possibility of failure. While the Vorthan Empire prepared its massive response, Dr. Zefka worked frantically in a research facility on Keller Prime. The Kalari scientists had been studying human biology and psychology using data provided by the crew of the Endeavor. What he discovered amazed and terrified him. Dr. Alina Murphy, he said to the human scientist on the communication screen, I need to understand something about your species. According to my analysis, humans have bone density 40% higher than typical galactic species. Your muscle fibers are also much denser, and your reflexes are significantly faster. Dr. Murphy nodded from her laboratory aboard the Defiant. That's correct. Dr. Zefka. Humans evolved on a world with higher gravity and more dangerous conditions than most planets we've encountered. But there's more. Your brain chemistry shows adaptations for high-stress situations. Most species become paralyzed by fear when facing mortal danger. Humans seem to become more focused and effective. Dr. Chris Anderson, another human scientist, joined the conversation. Earth has always been a dangerous place, Doctor. Predators, natural disasters, disease, extreme weather. Any species that survived there had to be tough and adaptable. Dr. Zefka looked at the data again. What you're describing is what we would call a death world, a planet so hostile that evolution produces species with extraordinary survival capabilities. We theorized such worlds might exist, but we never expected to meet a species that evolved on one. Is that why you're so much better at warfare than other species? Dr. Zefka asked. Dr. Murphy and Dr. Anderson exchanged glances. We're not naturally more violent, Dr. Murphy explained. But we are naturally better at handling stress, thinking tactically under pressure, and adapting to dangerous situations. When you combine that with our history of warfare, yes, we probably have advantages that peaceful species don't. The conversation was interrupted by alarms throughout the Kalari system. Long-range sensors had detected the approach of the First Imperial Fleet, 200 Vorthan warships led by the largest vessel anyone had ever seen. Admiral Kane studied the tactical display with growing concern. The approaching fleet was unlike anything Earth had faced before. The Super Dreadnought Annihilator was 5 kilometers long and bristled with weapons that could destroy planets. Options? He asked his staff. We could withdraw, suggested Commander Shaw. Fight a running battle, make them chase us through multiple systems. No, Kane replied. If we run, they'll finish destroying the Kalaria and then hunt us down one by one. We make our stand here. Captain Bell spoke up from the Tempest. Admiral, even with our tactical advantages, 200 ships against 12 is impossible odds. Kane looked at the display again. Maybe not impossible. We have one advantage they don't know about yet. What's that, sir? We're not fighting to win a traditional battle. We're fighting to survive. Humans are very good at surviving. War Prince Quetzor arrived in the system with confident expectations of easy victory. His fleet arranged itself in a formation designed to overwhelm any opponent through sheer firepower. The Super Dreadnought Annihilator took position at the center, its massive guns ready to destroy the human fleet in a single devastating strike. Humans, he broadcast. On all frequencies, you have impressed the Emperor with your courage, but courage alone will not save you. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick. Admiral Kane's response was broadcast throughout the system. War Prince Quetzor, you're about to learn why humans don't surrender. We prefer to fight our way out of impossible situations. The battle began unlike anything the Vorthons had ever experienced. Instead of fleeing or forming a defensive line, the human ships separated and began moving in seemingly random patterns. They used every piece of debris, every asteroid, every gravity well in the system as cover and weapons. The destroyer, Wolverine, commanded by Captain Shaw, led the first attack. Instead of engaging the main fleet, she targeted the Vorthon supply ships at the rear of the formation. Her crew had studied Vorthon logistics for days and knew exactly which ships were carrying fuel and ammunition. When the supply ship Provisioner exploded, it took 2 nearby cruisers with it. The explosion created a debris field that the human ships used as cover for their next attack. Lieutenant Commander Garcia's fighter squadron performed maneuvers that violated every principle of safe flight. They flew through asteroid fields at speeds that should have been impossible, using gravitational slingshots around moons to achieve velocities that allowed them to penetrate Vorthan shields through sheer kinetic energy. Captain Bell's Tempest coordinated with the other human cruisers and attacks that came from 6 different directions simultaneously. The Vorthians found themselves unable to focus their fire effectively because every time they turned to engage one human ship, 2 others would attack from their blind spots. The most devastating attack came from an unexpected source. The exploration ship Endeavour, commanded by Captain Morrison, had been studying the system's gas giant for days. They discovered that the planet's magnetic field could be used to hide ships from sensors. Morrison's crew planted mines throughout the magnetic field, then lured a squadron of Vorthan ships into the trap. When the mines detonated, it created an electromagnetic pulse that disabled 12 enemy vessels at once. War Prince Kethsor watched his fleet being torn apart by an enemy. He refused to fight according to any rules he understood. "How are they doing this?" he demanded of his tactical officers. "Sir, they're not fighting like any species we've encountered. They use the environment as a weapon, they coordinate attacks across vast distances, and they seem to have no fear of death. Every species fears death, not these humans, sir. They act as if dying in battle is acceptable as long as they take enemies with them." The battle raged for 6 hours. By the end, the human fleet had destroyed 37 Vorthan ships and damaged 50 more. The humans had lost 3 ships, but their crews had evacuated 2 other vessels before the ships were destroyed. War Prince Kethsor found himself in a position no Vorthan commander had faced in decades. Tactical defeat. Despite overwhelming numerical superiority, his fleet was still larger than the human force, but the humans had proven they could inflict unacceptable casualties. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we're receiving a transmission from the human admiral." Kane's face appeared on the screen, showing the calm confidence of a man who had just won an impossible victory. "War Prince, I believe it's time. We discussed terms." Terms Kethsor could barely speak. "You dare offer terms to the Vorthan Empire?" "I'm not offering terms. I'm stating them. You will withdraw from this system immediately. You will release all Kaleri prisoners. And you will spread the word throughout your empire that humanity is now the protector of free worlds in this region of space." Kethsor stared at the human admiral. "And if we refuse?" Kane smiled, and it was the most terrifying expression the War Prince had ever seen. "Then we'll continue this conversation until you change your mind. And War Prince, we have all day." 4. The first time in Vorthon history, an Imperial fleet began a strategic withdrawal from a battlefield they had been expected to dominate. Emperor Vashkal paced the length of his throne room aboard the Dominion, his 4 arms clenched in fury. The reports from War Prince Kethsor were impossible to believe, yet they came from his most trusted commander. "You're telling me that these humans defeated the first Imperial fleet?" he demanded of the holographic image of his War Prince. "Not defeated, my Emperor, but they inflicted casualties we could not sustain. They fight like nothing we have ever encountered. They use suicide tactics that work, they turn every piece of space debris into a weapon, and they seem to predict our movements before we make them." Vashkal stopped pacing. "How many ships did you lose?" 37 destroyed, 50 damaged. The humans lost only 3 vessels, and even then they saved most of their crews before the ships were destroyed. "Impossible, my Emperor. I request permission to study these humans further before engaging them again. They're not like other species. Something about them is fundamentally different." The Emperor considered this. In 500 years of conquest, no species had ever forced a Vorthan fleet to withdraw. These humans had done it twice. Permission granted. "But Kethsor, if you fail me again, you will face the consequences." The hologram flickered and disappeared, leaving the Emperor alone with his thoughts. Perhaps it was time to learn more about these mysterious humans before deciding how to deal with them. Meanwhile, news of the human victory spread throughout the galaxy faster than anyone expected. Species that had suffered under Vorthan rule for decades began to whisper about the small fleet that had faced the Empire and won. On the mining world of Zealous-4, slave Tekin workers heard the news from smugglers. Within hours, they had organized the first successful uprising against their Vorthan overseers in 20 years. The aquatic Mirren people, whose homeworld had been conquered 15 years ago, began coordinating resistance activities across 3 star systems. If humans could defeat the Vorthans in space, perhaps other species could defeat them on the ground. Dr. Zefka worked tirelessly to document everything he had learned about humans. His research station had become a meeting place for representatives from dozens of species, all wanting to understand how the humans had achieved the impossible. The key is their evolutionary background, he explained to a gathering of alien scientists and diplomats. Humans evolved on what we classify as a Class 12 death world. The gravity was higher, the weather more violent, the predators more dangerous than anything most of our species have experienced. Dr. Elena Murphy, participating via hologram from the Defiant, added more details. Our species had to develop certain traits to survive: high stress tolerance, rapid adaptation to changing conditions, and the ability to function effectively while experiencing fear. But why does this make you better at warfare? Asked Ambassador Vexnin of the Corellian Republic. Dr. Chris Anderson answered, because war is essentially organized problem-solving under maximum stress. Humans have been doing that for millions of years just to stay alive on our home planet. The assembled aliens absorbed this information with growing amazement. The concept of a world so dangerous that its native species developed into natural warriors was beyond their experience. There's something else, Dr. Zefka continued. Human military doctrine emphasizes flexibility and individual initiative. Most galactic militaries, including the Vorthons, rely on rigid command structures and predetermined tactics. Humans encourage their soldiers to adapt and improvise. Captain Morrison, now promoted to admiral after his actions during the crisis, listened to the scientific discussion from his command center. The Endeavor had been upgraded and assigned as flagship of the new Human Defense Coalition fleet. Dr. Zefka Morrison interrupted. All this research is interesting, but what matters now is what we do next. The Vorthons are regrouping, and other species are looking to us for protection. What are you suggesting, Admiral? Asked Ambassador Vexnin. A formal alliance. The Human Defense Coalition. Earth provides military protection and tactical training. Our allies provide resources, intelligence, and support bases. Together, we can stop the Vorthan Empire from conquering any more worlds. The proposal sparked immediate debate among the assembled representatives. Some species were eager to join, having suffered under Vorthon rule. Others worried about replacing one dominant military power with another. It was War Prince Kethsor, who provided the final push toward alliance. 3 weeks after his defeat in the Kalari system, he requested a meeting with Admiral Kane. Under a flag of truce, the meeting took place on a neutral space station in the border region between human and Vorthan space. Kethsor arrived with a small escort, while Kane brought only 2 ships as a show of good faith. Admiral Kane, the War Prince said as they met in the station's conference room. I need to understand something about your species. What do you want to know? Why do you fight so hard for aliens you had never met before? The Kalari offered you nothing in return for your protection. Kane considered the question carefully, because they asked for help, and we were able to provide it. Isn't that reason enough? Not for most species. The galaxy operates on the principle of advantage. You help others when it benefits you. Maybe that's why the galaxy has problems with empires like yours. Kethsor leaned back in his chair. I have studied your tactics, Admiral. You fight as if every battle might be your last, yet you show no fear of death. Your crews take risks that would paralyze other species with terror. How is this possible? Because we know something that you don't, War Prince. Sometimes the things worth protecting are more important than your own survival. The Vorthon commander was silent for a long moment. Admiral, I came here to negotiate. A ceasefire between our forces. I'm listening. The Emperor is preparing a massive fleet to destroy your coalition. 2,000 ships drawn from across the entire empire. Even you cannot defeat those numbers. Kane nodded. Probably not in a direct battle, but we don't plan to fight direct battles. What do you mean? We mean that if the Emperor wants to control this region of space, he'll have to garrison every world, patrol every shipping lane, and guard every resource depot against human-trained resistance fighters. War Prince, your empire conquered weak opponents who surrendered quickly. We're going to teach the galaxy how to fight back. Ketzor understood the implications immediately. You're talking about turning the entire region into a war zone? Only if your emperor insists on continuing his conquest. There's an alternative, which is withdrawal. The Vorthan Empire pulls back to its original borders, releases all enslaved populations, and respects the sovereignty of free worlds. In return, we guarantee that human forces will not enter Vorthon space. The Emperor will never agree to such terms. Kane smiled. Then I guess we'll find out how good humans are at fighting a galactic war. The meeting ended without agreement. Ketzor returned to his Emperor with a new understanding of what the Vorthans faced. These humans were not just tactically superior. They represented a completely different approach to galactic civilization. Within 6 months, the Human Defense Coalition included 23 species across 15 star systems. Human advisors trained alien resistance fighters, while Earth's growing fleet patrolled space lanes and protected merchant ships from Vorthan raiders. Admiral Morrison stood on the bridge of the Endeavor, now flagship of Coalition Defense Command, watching a mixed fleet of human and alien ships conducting joint training exercises. Captain Lisa Grant, promoted to his executive officer, joined him at the observation deck. "Think it will work, sir?" she asked. "This alliance?" Morrison watched. A Kaleri science ship successfully coordinated an attack run with human fighters. "Lisa, 6 months ago, we were just an exploration crew looking for new star systems. Today we're training half the galaxy how to fight for their freedom." "That's not really an answer, sir." Morrison smiled. "Then yes, I think it will work. We're not trying to conquer anyone or build an empire. We're just teaching people how to protect themselves." In the distance, Vorthon scout ships watched the exercises from beyond sensor range. The reports they sent back to their emperor were troubling. The humans weren't just building a military alliance. They were creating something the galaxy had never seen before, a coalition of free worlds that could defend itself. The age of easy conquest was ending, and a new chapter in galactic history was beginning. And it all started with one distress signal and a human crew's decision to answer. A call for help.